I'm Matt Sweeney, and I'm freaking out because this is Nick Lowe, who's been kind enough to come down to Electric Lady Studios in New York City to talk about guitar and stuff. Thanks for coming, Nick.
A pleasure, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Freaking out, really excited. How did you come to play guitar?
My mum taught me. She could play a few chords. She taught me some very simple ukulele chords, really, but they work on the guitar as well, you know, like...
Oh, that's cool.
Get your coat and get your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep, just direct your feet to the... there's a fancy chord in there, but sunny side of the street. Don't you hear that pitter-pat? Why, that happy beat is your step. Life could be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade. I don't know how.
Did your mom know the song and showed you how to sing it and play it at the same time?
Yeah. She came from a sort of vaudeville family. You know, she was a pretty good singer. She came from showbiz.
How old were you when she put a guitar in your hand to show you those chords?
7, I suppose, something like that. And then along comes Lonnie Donegan in the UK with this, and he started a thing called Skiffle music, which was country blues, really. We didn't know we were getting a lesson in country blues, really, from this guy. But he was sort of wild for the UK. He did a song called A Rock Island Line, which was a big hit in the United States, actually. But that's when I first got this...
Awesome.
Well, the Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Rock Island Line is a road to ride. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. Well, if you want ride it like you find. Ticket at the station, go to Rock Island Line.
So cool.
Well, ABC, that's on me. Cats in the cupboard and you don't see me. On the Rock Line, right to the road. Rock Island Line, well, it's a road to ride. Rock Island Line, it's a mighty good. Give a whole ride, you gotta ride it like you find it. Get your ticket at the station, go to Rock Island Line. Well, I may be right, I may be wrong. You're gonna miss me and so
That
on.
is... I love that. That's
Well,
so cool.
I loved it too. You know, I'm still doing that stuff.
I immediately my eyes go. And one of the things on this show is I'm always like obsessing on the right hand. Is that like that pattern that you were just doing? Can you just do that even a little bit slower, just to show?
Yeah.
There's all these micro movements.
I hope I can still do it.
Yeah, I know, they must be
Thinking
slow.
about it.
So it's thumb. It's thumb chop.
And then I sort of flick with
Like
my
that.
thumb.
Yeah. And you're doing like taking the hand off for like a...
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's, yes, that, I don't know if that sort of, I don't remember anyone teaching me that at all. That
Right.
sort of, when you sort of stop the,
Yeah.
yeah, it's different with this because there's so many open strings. So you've got, it's a bit wilder, but if you play higher.
So cool. That's so cool.
I'm very pleased to hear it.
No, I just getting that up and down shit. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And is that pretty much like when you're rocking, is that the go-to pattern if you're going to pick up a guitar?
I suppose it is,
Yeah.
I suppose it is.
Yeah.
Coming up in the era that I did, which was the 60s,
Yeah.
and then as I say, I left home to actually join a band in '68, and I thought I'd missed the boat. I thought it was all over, actually. Right. So how wrong I was. We couldn't get decent guitars in the UK.
Yeah.
They all came from Germany or Italy.
Right.
And that's why people from my generation, you see them playing with their thumb on the bass, like that.
Why?
Instead of doing that.
Just because it was harder to...
Because you just could not hold the strings.
Oh, because the
down.
action was so high.
Yeah, and there was one kind of string you could get when they were really, really thick. So the only way you could hold the bass string.
I had no idea that's the root of that. I just... Yeah, because I was thinking, I think Keith Richards is the first guy that I saw doing it, that I noticed doing that. Like, as a kid, I'd see pictures of him and he'd be doing that. But it's also like, when you do that, it's easy. I think it sets up your hand.
Sense, yeah.
Yeah, and it sets up, like if you're like, it allows like,
Yes.
Or like, you could do stuff.
And I always like to try and put a sort of bass part like that sort of thing. But that's the reason why you see a lot of people of my kind of vintage playing with a thumb on the top.
So that's always when you're doing your bar chords. That's pretty much.
Yeah, I hardly ever do those. It feels very very sort of awkward to me, and I can't make a clean. Sometimes can't. I block strings up.
Yeah.
Well, that's all.
Oh, that's so good to know that that it's still hard for you to do. That's so cool. So what was the vibe like playing in bands in 1968, and what band did you join? And
well, we were doing a lot of R&B stuff. There was a funny changeover period between the R&B stuff that the mod kids were all keen on, and the oncoming psychedelic stuff that was coming down the road. Well, we were trying to keep up. We were not trailblazers at all. We were trying to stay current.
Okay. Really. Is this what became Brinsley Schwarz, this band, or is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you meet up with those guys?
I went to school with them.
High school.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you go in right away singing in Brinsley Schwarz?
Yeah.
He
I
put
did
you right
actually.
to work as that.
Yeah. And then I started trying to write songs because I figured out that I thought, well, I like this, this, and I can sort of do it.
Is there something you recall? You're like, okay, this one is killer. Like what to your mind was your first like killer song?
What that I wrote?
Yeah, that you wrote.
Well, I mean, I remember the first original song I wrote, which was Peace, Love and Understanding.
That's the first song you wrote?
So that's the first original idea I had up till, and I remember being totally flabbergasted that I'd actually managed to have an original idea of my own and hadn't pinched it off somebody else.
That all came just all...
The title came, and I thought, well, it's a bit baggy. What's so funny about Peace, Love and Understanding? Or what's so funny about...
You're right.
I thought, I won't get away with that, man. It's too much of a mouthful. But I thought this is a really good idea, and I had a very sophisticated thought for someone as stupid as I was at that age. I think I was 23 or something like that. But I had a really sophisticated thought, and that was not to mess it up, to let the title do the talking, and not to make it too clever, and well, I thought it was kind of bland, but the verse goes, as I walk this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain, hatred, and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Ooh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? And not sort of cloud the issue too much. And I was astonished that I'd managed to
That wasn't
come
really
to that
good.
conclusion. Yeah, and it's thank goodness,
Did you show the band? Did you go in with that song like, yo, I got this thing?
Yeah, I did, and
Were they like-
of course I did. Although we were doing it much more like the Who or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
Elvis Costello, he was a fan of our group, Brinsley Shwarz, and after I started producing him, I'd been doing it for a while. He said to me one day, I fancy having a go at your Peace, Love and Understanding song, because the Brinsleys had broken up, Brinsley Shwarz had broken up, and two of songs from our catalogue had gone into the dustbin of history, like all bands.
Right.
Usually that's what happens.
Yeah.
And one of them was Peace, Love and Understanding. The other one was Cruel to Be Kind, actually.
You guys did that. I didn't know that you did that in that group.
Yeah.
Well,
We loved a song called "The Love I Lost" by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. It was a sort of Philly soul tune, and we couldn't play it. It was beyond us, really. It was too musical. But we wanted a song in that groove. It had a bass part like. I said, well, look, I'll try and write a song with that groove. I can definitely do that. And so I came up with this tune. Oh, I can't take another heartache, though you see you're my friend. I'm at my wit's end.
that's how you wrote it, like that.
Yeah. Cruel to be kind in the right way.
Wow, that's really cool.
Cruel to be kind, a very good sign. Cruel to be kind, that I love you, baby. That's all. Whatever. But it had the sort of elements of the.
And you were on bass when you wrote it?
Yeah.
Were you writing songs on bass a lot?
Yeah, I used to do that. Yeah,
Wow.
quite a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
The great Greg Gaylor, who was the A&R at Columbia in those days, he signed me and Elvis. And when I signed to him, I handed over all my demos and everything. He got the lot, and he went through them, and he said, "I've heard this song, this Cruel to Be Kind. It's a pretty good song you've got there." And I said, "Yes, Greg, but I'm writing songs about actresses getting eaten by their dog nowadays, man. That's what people want to hear. They want to hear this, old disco stuff. Come on." And he said, "I'm telling you, that is a cool number." And he sort of made me record it. And I was with Rockpile by that time, and I went into the studio with them and said, "Boys, I'm really sorry, but we've got to cut this old Brinsley song, They were a bit eye-rolly to start with, but we got into it. And then when Dave started putting all these great harmonies on it, that's when it still started to sound like something.
When did Dave Edmunds get on your radar? Was it with Love Sculpture? Did you know who he was?
Yeah, Love Sculpture, definitely. I thought they were great. But we used to record at the studio down in on the sort of Welsh border called Rockfield Studios, which Edmunds used to use all the time. That's where he recorded "I Hear You Knocking," which is his big hit. He was a very romantic figure to me, because not only did I think he was really good, but he was a real loner. We'd record during the day, pack it in, and he'd turn up and be in there all night on his own.
himself.
Yeah. And he wasn't interested, he wasn't interested in talking to us or anything like that. I thought he was fantastic, But so I made up my mind to kind of bug him, until he relented, and eventually it happened. And initially he'd get me into the studio as a kind of audience, just to watch him. And that was pretty interesting. And then he'd let me go out and scratch a microphone, and then happy day, a hand clap. He let me do that. And then one day I took him a song that I'd come up with, and he liked it, and he cut it. Then we were sort of off then, and he started recording my songs fairly regularly. And I used to meet him every night. We used to go to this pub and have a couple of drinks, and I'd say to him, well, I know it's never going to happen, but so just supposing we did get a group together, who would you like to get on drums, do you think? And anyway, bit by bit, we got the people that they all came available, so there was no escape.
Is there a through line for the guitar players that you've played with that you really like?
There's a lot of guitar players who are pretty good. They're for a penny, really, who are pretty good guitar players. I have played with some really, really good people, such as Ry Cooder and Jimmy Vaughan, who I'm also a big fan of. They are undoubtedly fantastic and unique players. But some of the best people also I've played with are people who aren't virtuosos, but they've got one good lick or one fantastic thing they can do, and they know exactly when to do it, when not to do it. And that is what makes somebody really great, I think. It's a sort of a frame of mind rather than billions of notes. It's a frame of mind and a cool tone. And same goes for bass players, drummers, It's a sort of attitude. Rock and roll, I think, without getting too sort of wet about it, it is an attitude, really. As soon as you start trying to do it, it all somehow goes away.
Yeah, for sure.
You've just got to think yourself into it and sort of flap your hand around, and it generally comes out, sounding right. That's my experience anyway. And if you try too hard to do it, it's just not very good, really.
Did you write Beast in Me with Johnny Cash in mind?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yes.
And what did you have in mind when you wrote that song?
He was coming to London to do a show. This is when I was still married to Carleen. And I, for some reason, this idea, The Beast in Me, came to mind. I thought, man, this would be a great title for a Johnny Cash song. And so I went and got a, bottle of wine out of the cellar and sat down and started playing this thing, and then another bottle of wine.
Oh my God!
And the next morning I woke up with this pounding headache, and to hear Carleen talking to our mum, to June, saying, "Oh yeah, he stayed up all night. Yeah, he's real pleased with it. Yeah, yeah, you should come and hear it."
Oh no!
Yeah. And my eyes went open. I thought, my God, no. Don't make the great man come over here. I haven't got anything. Anyway, she put the phone down and I said, you've got to call them back now and say that I know that it's not there. She said, well, it's too late. They're coming.
Oh my God.
So I knew the first verse was pretty good, but the rest, I went down and looked at these sheaves of paper and oh, no. So to try and get rid of my hangover, I went outside and was digging around in the garden or mowing the lawn or something like that. And next thing I knew, there is the great man standing over me. Hi, Nick, And I said, oh, yeah. Hello, John. He was, without doubt, the most charismatic person I've ever met. And for the first 20 minutes or so, when I was with him, when I saw him, it was almost impossible to talk, let alone with a hangover, as a terrible hangover as well. So I was going, they were on their way to Wembley to do the sound check. So he said, I understand you've got a song for me. And I said, well, I'm not too sure if I have actually, John. No, I think Carleen might have been a little bit previous you know, with getting you over. He said, well, I'd certainly like to hear it, what you've got. So the two of us went inside, we opened the door, and there was not only June, but all the kids, the nannies, the band, the road managers, and there's this massive bus parked outside my house. They were on their way to the sound check, and no messing. They'd all come in to hear this song.
No pressure.
Anyway, oh my God, it was, even talking about it now, you know, I can feel myself starting to shake. Picked up this guitar, shaking like this, and the night before I'd been convinced I was Johnny Cash. I was Johnny Cash, you know, when I went to bed. And I thought the beast in me is caged by frail and fragile bars, you know, that's genius. Especially when I did it in my Johnny Cash voice. Anyway, I picked up the guitar and went, oh, the beast in me is caged by frail and It was awful, this wimpy little thin voice. When I finished, there was this silence in the room. And I could just see people going, you know, and the odd cough, you know. And then waiting for John to speak, you know, and he said, he said, do it again. Anyway, he made me do it again. And it was even worse the second time. God. It was even worse. Anyway, when I finished, I was shaking, I was sweating. He said, you're definitely onto something with this. No, don't be so quick, you know. He said, it definitely needs work, but you're onto something. I didn't want to hear that, you know, but he was being nice to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I shooed them out, you know, as quickly as I could, and it was appalling, and I never wanted to hear the song again. But every time I see John after that, he'd ask me about it. I said, no. He said, I really think you should go back to that. And I'd go back to it, but I couldn't get past the first verse. I couldn't think of anything else. It seemed that's all there was, you know, to say. Anyway, the years rolled by. 12 years later, he was playing at the Albert Hall, and I went to see him play. And he used to get me up to play, do a song with him, which is also a bone of contention, because I never used to like doing it, you know, because I was a Johnny Cash fan.
Right.
And if I'd seen me get up with Johnny Cash,
guy.
For Christ's sake, you know, we can see this guy, you know, please, you know. So anyway, he said, oh, Nick, you know, I went to see him backstage. He says, oh, Nick, well, so what are we going to do tonight? What tune? And I must have sort of rolled my eyes or something, or made some gesture. He said, well, what's the matter? What's the matter? You know, and so I told him this, you know. I said, well, John, it's great that you asked me, you know, but I'm a Johnny Cash fan, you know, and I wouldn't dig it if I kind of. And anyway, he thought this was pretty funny and said, well, I don't care about that, you know. You've got to come up and this is what we do, you know. We hit a town and we know someone is there. Up they come, you know. So okay, yeah. So it went well, and after the show, he said, don't forget the Beast in Me song, you know, it made this little speech. Anyway, on this occasion, I went back home and finished it just like that. Wrote the other two verses, and they all fitted together. It all sounded like I'd done it at the same time. It was uncanny, you know, really was uncanny. I recorded it and recorded a little demo of it, and I sent it to him. My stepdaughter, Tiffany, she came to England to visit me, and she said, oh, Grandpa, all he does is play your song. Anyone who comes to the house, he'll play your song. And because I hadn't heard anything from him, and I thought, well, maybe he thinks it's still not right, you know. But anyway, next thing I knew, his American Recordings record came out, and Blow Me Down, he'd done it.
Can we maybe just play that song and then we could call it a day?
Oh, yeah, I think I'm pretty cool with that. I haven't done it for a while, but oh, the beast in me is caged by frail and fragile bars, restless by day and by night, ransom rages at the stars. the beast in me. The beast in me has had to learn to live with pain and how to shelter from the rain. And in the twinkling of an eye might have to be restrained. God help the beast in me. Sometimes it tries to kid me that it's just a teddy bear, or even somehow managed to vanish in the air. That's when we must beware of the beast in me. That everybody knows. They've seen him out dressed in my clothes, patently unclear if it's New York or New Year. God help the beast in me. The beast in me. God help the beast in me.
Thanks for that. Oh my God. So cool. That's really good guitar playing. As far as I'm concerned, that's all you need.